Welcome back once again to the Pitlane Pals Formula One podcast. In this episode, we are going to be reviewing the Chinese Grand Prix, which, may I add, I could have gone without watching. I didn't need to see any of that race. And, beyond that fact alone that the race was boring, I could have actually just woken up when the news dropped that Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc, and Pierre Gasly were all disqualified.
Yeah.
Hamilton for too much wear on the floor, I believe, and Leclerc and Gasly for being under the weight limit. I literally could have not watched the race and just saw that because half of the interesting stuff happening on track was below them. So, and there wasn't even really anything interesting on that anyways. This did propel Esteban Ocon to a P5. I just want to note that really quick. The Haas had a double points finish with Oliver Behrman and Esteban Ocon.
Behrman was flying.
Insane.
Behrman was flying. Ciao. I don't know.
Ciao.
I felt kind of like cringed out a bit. Like I thought.
I don't know. It was fine. In my head, I was like, I know he wants to be a part of an edit really bad.
I don't know. If it just felt really uncomfortable as it started happening.
I will say, on one hand, saying ciao when you're overtaking for like P17, like his first overtake was like P17 or something. It was like, all right, bro, let's calm down. But to be fair, I think he knew that he had a pretty good shot at getting into the points, and he would have had the point finish anyways, whether people got disqualified or not. I believe, just not as many points.
I think he'd already overtaken Gasly. No, you're right. He just got into the points.
Yeah. That was the big news of the race because nothing really interesting happened during the Grand Prix. I mean, we'll talk a little bit Norris and Piastri up front in a minute, but that was the big moment of the race. Happened a couple hours after the race. I believe. I don't know when the news dropped because I was up till 4 a.m. watching that race live in my time zone, and then I went to bed, and then I woke up and saw a text from you telling me, and I was like, "What?
What
happened?"
Yeah. I got a gist of what it's like having your F1 experience with Australia being that early, and the China sprint race being that early. I got up at 4 to watch the sprint. And as a German, as someone living in Europe, I can't wait to get the normal F1 times back because that's fucking painful. And I'm really sorry you have to go through that because holy shit, poor people.
Well, I mean, okay, so here's the thing. When I lived on the west coast of America, it was worse. That was like 6 a.m. every morning. Now that I live on the east, it's like 8 when it's in Europe. So it's a little bit more bearable, and I actually am looking forward to it as well because then I get to, when fall comes around, we're doing the European stint. I think that should be around that same time. As an American, I get to watch American football, but before I get to watch the race, have my coffee, the race will finish, and then I can turn on some American football, the NFL. So it's not that bad anymore, but I do get the complaint. I would honestly argue, though, that China would have been better had I still been on the West Coast because at least it would have been like 1 a.m. and not like 3 when it was starting.
I was surprised you pulled through it. I was surprised. I don't know if I would have stayed up for that long. I think I would have taken a nap or something.
As an F1 fan, I have this fear that I'm gonna miss like the one good race.
Oh yeah, but that's fair. That's fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess not the one good race because the races have gotten better since last year, or not since last year, but since a couple years ago when Max won pretty much every one. But like, I'm always fearful that I'm gonna miss like race of the year or something if I sleep, and it's like, it's hard to not push through.
Well, honestly,
but anyways, back on topic.
The one thing that you would have missed, which you luckily did not miss, which has not happened last season or the season before that, is seeing Yuki Tsunoda's front wing flying off for no apparent reason. I don't know if they thought, guys, this is our season. We're going to go super light. There's this new Temu front wing. Chef's kiss. We're going to order that one. And it just blew off. That was the weirdest front wing damage I have seen in my entire life. Just bonk, gone.
And my favorite part is Tsunoda coming in. They tell him to come in. He's like, come in, we gotta change the wing, we have damage. And he just comes on, and the most like Kimi Räikkönen cadence I've ever heard. From what?
Yeah, it's
Like
literally
piss the fuck off.
Yeah,
like what
yeah.
happened? And he was just from what?
Yeah. It reminds me of Kimi when he got the penalty, and it's like, Kimi, you got 5 seconds, and he was like, for what? It was exactly the same
exactly.
thing.
Same exact cadence. The drivers were sassy on the radio this race. Actually, that was like a pretty
Leclerc again.
entertaining part of the race.
Yeah. Leclerc is just. I mean, to be honest, another front wing incident, and the guy was quicker without the one part of his wing missing. That's like. I mean, I'm not an F1 engineer, but
can we just take that off?
That doesn't make sense for me. I mean, I guess it's increased flexi wing.
Makes sense to me at all.
Sure, but the arrow shouldn't work that way.
Limit.
Huh?
Turns out he was under the weight limit, so
yeah,
maybe that had something to do with it. But no, Leclerc was flying before the incident. After the race, but he was funny on the radio. Hamilton kept saying, he's like, "We'll switch when I say we switch." It was like, okay, team principal Lewis Hamilton. Like, I feel like part of his contract when he came to Ferrari was just like, I'll come, but
you're gonna have to let me do.
You're not
everything.
gonna boss me around.
Yeah,
I'm Lewis Hamilton. Yeah, that's definitely the impression I'm getting after a couple races. Alex Albon came on the radio.
That was actually
and they
really
said,
funny.
do you think you're gonna be able to maintain the tires or whatever they said? And he comes back and he's like, I'm fine. I'm better than everyone. I'm very comfortable right now. What do you mean you're like?
I am better.
I mean, he stood on business. He led a race for Williams for the first time since like 1990 something.
Yeah, it's.
So I mean, granted that was because of pits, but like still, I mean, he stood on business.
Yeah.
He did say he was better than everyone. Stop the clock. If we stopped the clock at that point, he would have.
Oh my god! But we have to give some context because, obviously I had some interesting predictions, and as all the pit stops came through, Lawson was in the points for a bit, and I instantly texted Kane and I was like, "Stop the clock! Stop the clock! Stop the race!" Because then he would have finished the points. God.
Yeah, we can actually transition into our predictions and see how we did. Do a little recap of how we did. We posted some TikToks about it, but I feel like I got fucked a little bit. Like I feel like everything just went a little not my way. But I predicted that Lewis Hamilton was going to finish on the podium. He got disqualified. He wasn't on the podium anyways, but he did get disqualified. Max Verstappen, I had him finishing P5 or lower, and then in like the last like 10 laps of the race, overtook Charles Leclerc for P4.
Yep.
And then I predicted Kimi Antonelli was going to finish in the top 6, which did happen because of the disqualifications,
Ferrari got disqualified,
which is funny, which is really funny. So I had a very weird series of predictions. Actually, it was like did not go how I thought it was going to go
at all.
Like if I was gonna get it wrong,
Mm-hmm.
it's fine. But if I'm gonna get it wrong in that way, is where it's like everything just was a little weird. It's just I was just like this close in the Verstappen thing.
Yeah. For me, I had my first prediction was the 1-2, and I actually, honestly, looking back, as I said it in the podcast, I didn't think that it would happen. Like I thought, okay, Norris is struggling too much. He looked really bad in the sprint race, and the quali. I mean, he got better in quali, but we recorded it. No, we did record it after quali. But I was worried about the long term because he was complaining about graining in the race after 2 or 3 laps. So I thought, okay, shit, in the race he's not going to be performing at all. Now we know that his brakes just decided to disappear after a bit. So that wasn't too great, but they still had a 1-2. Then I predicted that
it was close though.
Yeah, that Hadjar was going to outperform Tsunoda, and that was really, really close. But it ended in favor for me because I mean we now know the Timu wing incident that happened to Tsunoda. From what? Yeah. And the last one.
I'm gonna quote that all year.
Yeah, the last one I will say wasn't the most realistic one, but I felt like
Drive to Survive fan.
if I would have gotten that one right, I would have had bragging rights for years. I would have, honestly, you would have heard that every single podcast. But luckily I did not.
Well,
So,
well, part of what's funny about it too is because I gave you so much shit for it when you picked it too. It's like, had you got it right, it would have looked really bad on me. But I was so confident you weren't going to get it right. And not that I'm a Lawson hater.
It was close.
We'll transition into that in a minute.
P12. After the disqualifications.
Because the disqualifications, by the way.
Let the man cook.
Would have been P15.
Let the man cook.
With a DNF from Alonso as well. So, you know.
Well, I went 2 for 3.
Right.
You went 1 for 3.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. I think that's a great way to start the season. I think that's a great way to start this battle we'll have over the season. Looking back, mate, there were multiple times where I went 0 for 3. So 2 for 3.
That's true.
Not too shabby. Not too shabby.
Yeah. No, I'll take it. You know what? I'll take a point. On that Lawson topic, though.
Ooh.
What the fuck is going on at the Red Bull team right now, and what are they going to do by Japan? I'm kind of scared to upload this podcast, and like right after we upload it, there's going to be confirmation of the news or something that Yuki Tsunoda's replacing him for the Japanese Grand Prix. I don't know what's happening because I saw a report from Ralf Schumacher who said that it's pretty much going to happen in Japan.
Yeah. Yeah.
What does Ralf Schumacher know? I don't know, but I mean more than I do. So it's definitely making me think a little bit about it right now. And what does that entail for Lawson's future?
Well, I saw a post on this, and I saw Max Verstappen talking about this. He was actually really annoyed at Tsunoda coming in because of how difficult the Red Bull is to drive. And I actually had a pretty long chat with my dad today, and we were talking through the Red Bull car. Got to refer to it, you know. And the thing is terrible to drive. Lawson said that there was one lap in the whole race where the balance was good, and we refer to what Alex Albon said a while ago about the sensitivity of the car. But the main factor about this car situation is the fact that, first of all, over the season it's going to get worse, and second of all, this might fuck up Tsunoda's career, and this is exactly what Max is annoyed about. Because I'm going to be honest with you, and last year, maybe the year before, I wasn't the biggest Tsunoda fan, I'll say that, but now I'm actually, he's kind of grown on to me, and I'm just thinking, like, that car is terrible to drive. Max can do it, but we've seen that Perez can't do it. We've seen that Lawson can't do it. I know Yuki's really quick, but I'm just scared that he's not going to be going to Red Bull and he's just going to be drowning the exact way like Lawson. It could actually happen that Lawson goes to RB and he qualifies in Japan and he's going to out-qualify Yuki. Because the RB has so much balance. RB is doing really, really well right now. The car is so good. Hadjar was able to come in and perform. I'm not saying Hadjar is better than Lawson. I'm just saying it seems like more of a car that you can get into and instantly have confidence. And that Red Bull, not too much. Honestly. Finding confidence in that car is horrible. Sorry, I had to rant there a bit.
No, I get it. I think on one token, Lawson or Yuki, I think would outperform Lawson in the Red Bull. Like I think he'll do better than Lawson's currently doing, but by how much, I don't know. And I don't know if he'll like blow him away. And then what? You switch drivers again? I don't know. I think Red Bull will do anything they can to avoid looking at their car as the problem, which is weird. And they're a bit more defensive in Lawson's case than they were for Checo. You know, Checo is very much, this is Checo's fault, you know. But with Lawson, and they're kind of like now starting to talk about it a little bit like, oh, maybe the car isn't right.
Well, it's because Max isn't winning. Switch him,
I feel like.
you know?
Yeah, that's possible. That's possible. I think so. Here's the thing with the Lawson Sano situation, right? And again, like on that switch directly, is if Yuki comes in and he doesn't perform where they want him to, and Yuki looks bad now, because the car and not because of himself, they're not going to put Yuki back in the Racing Bulls, right? And then he has to hopefully think that, cross his fingers that there's going to be a seat available for him elsewhere. Lawson, when they put him in, we can throw him back in the Racing Bulls if our car sucks, because like Lawson hasn't had that time. They kind of want Yuki out anyways of Racing Bulls, which they've mentioned in the offseason that he's been there for a long time. It's development, team.
Yeah.
He can't be there forever.
Yeah.
So I don't see a world where if Yuki underperforms, they throw him back in the Racing Bulls or something like that. So this is his last chance. Do I think for Red Bull it makes more sense? Probably, because you're probably going to be having a lot of trouble with your competition in the constructors this year, given the state of the car and the competition that everyone seems to have caught up to that Red Bull, machine, as the regulations have gone on. And yeah, they're really going to have to. I think they'll make the move if Lawson continues to not perform. I think that's inevitable. When they do it, I don't know. They're saying maybe Japan, maybe before, maybe after. We'll see. I feel like they're going to want to give him a shot in Japan, Lawson a shot in Japan. I don't know. But Ralph Schumacher said it's over before Japan, so I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, we have a little bit of time to decide that before the next race.
Well, I think honestly, it does seem like it's pretty much a done deal. But there was also this F1 post of which was made like I think an hour and a half ago, where they posted the Lawson interview, and it was like the caption was like back to square one in Japan, and he was saying how it's like he just needs more time in the car. So it did kind of seem like they were hinting towards he's going to be driving in Japan, but obviously we don't know. It kind of seems like he's not going to be driving in Japan right now. But this is a terrible situation for Red Bull as well. You can't forget right now the competition is quite literally running away. So it's just they need to do something. They are honestly right now they're in such a tough situation because the competition is running away. Mercedes has two drivers that are continuously going to score. Both of them look incredible. The car looks great. McLaren, we all know, 2 1-2s. Piastri and Norris are really, really close. And even the Ferrari camp, even though they just got disqualified this race, is doing extremely well. They need to do something. They can't go from the beginning of the season onwards with only one car scoring. And we've already briefly talked about this, how the money that they get for the constructors position is deciding not only the bonuses of all the mechanics in the team, but it's really, really crucial for Red Bull to be able to, develop a nice car next year. And for them to be further down the line, even if we look into the season, they're fixed at some point, but because they missed the first 3, 4, 5 races with only one car in the points, that would be terrible for them.
Yeah. I think here's the other issue that I don't think is gotten talked about too much, but it's starting to stir up a little bit again. If you remember, just a year ago, Jos Verstappen was all on the fucking media talking about how Max will leave Red Bull if the team stays super heated and congested, whatever, which seems to have calmed down because Christian allegedly sorted out his shit. However that happened. I'm going to watch my words carefully. That whole controversy, which was sketchy. And then you had all the drama between, Adrian Newey's gone now, and Helmut Marko seems to have a lot of beef with his fucking junior academy for some reason, and doesn't like any of them, and doesn't want them to develop. And so there was a lot of tension this time of year last year, and Jos Verstappen was talking about it, and Mercedes almost made a move on Max. Max was in talks of finding a new seat. If this Red Bull does not continue to develop, when tensions were already there, which they seem to have settled, but they clearly aren't just stuck to Red Bull. There is a world where if Red Bull's not competing, Max could leave
to Mercedes.
And I don't think Max cares who. Not to Mercedes. I don't think anymore now that they have Antonelli. I'm just saying, unless they wanted to get rid of Russell, but I don't see them doing that now. I think if they were going to go for Max, it was going to.
Imagine the deal.
I know. I'm hesitant to say that, though. I don't know if that's the most likely scenario because I think they like their drivers right now for the future. I could see Aston Martin.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
Because Adrian Newey's over there.
Oh, I fully forgot about
Aston
that.
Martin.
I fully forgot about that.
I could totally see Aston Martin.
Yeah. No, I just saw a post about this.
Honestly, I think that might be the most likely. Because Max had a very good relationship with Adrian Newey, as far as I remember. So, if that is the case, I'm just saying that Max may not be tied to Red Bull. Now, I don't know if there's a ton of options outside of Aston Martin where there may be a seat available. Obviously, it's Max Verstappen. There's always a seat available. But, like, Ferrari's not going to budge.
Yeah.
Unless Hamilton retires.
Yeah.
McLaren's not going to budge.
Because he's too expensive.
Mercedes,
I swear I saw a post on this, how Mercedes is going towards Verstappen now with all the drama coming up.
Again,
I saw this. I saw this today about how Mercedes is going towards Verstappen. Because honestly, I mean, Antonelli and Verstappen in one team, or maybe Russell and Verstappen in one team. That would be insane.
I would see it being Russell that gets shunned out of the team before Antonelli, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, two generational talents.
Not because Antonelli's better right now, but Antonelli is, as long as this season goes the way it looks like it could keep going and he can keep looking like that driver everyone thinks he's going to be.
Yeah.
He's giving like Piastri vibes, when Piastri came in and just
worked out instantly.
Good off rip.
Yeah.
Outside of the fact that the McLaren was shit, but that's, another conversation. But yeah, I just don't know if Max is stuck to Red Bull, and that's an interesting conversation. We'll probably see develop over the course of the year, depending on how things go. But then here's why this sucks for Red Bull. Lawson's underperforming. If you throw Yuki in, he also underperforms as Red Bull. What the fuck do you do?
They have a great amount of juniors they can go through.
I know, but it's like
no, I know. They're in a terrible situation, and the last thing they're going to do is turn that car around because Verstappen's still going to be performing. So they're going to be going towards this wall all year long because Verstappen loves the sharp end, loves the loose end. For any new driver coming in, if you're coming into a car which can lovely turn in, which is really, really sensitive, but you can't get on power because your rear is stepping out all the time and you've got no balance, that's going to kill your confidence so quickly. They're pretty much stuck, and Tsunoda is literally their last bet. And if that doesn't work out, they're screwed.
I think what happens, right? So if Yuki gets the seat, which seems very likely at this rate, which is crazy because it's been 2 races. Like that's crazy to think about. But Lawson has been criminally bad because, like, at least when Perez was at Red Bull, he might qualify like shit, but at least he was like making his way through the field and would bring some points home,
Yeah.
And like he looked like he was still in the faster car at the end of the day. Maybe the car is worse now. But also when Perez first came into Red Bull, obviously it was a different car then, years ago, back when Max won his first championship in 2021. He was a great teammate. So maybe they just kind of had this bias towards him because he did perform at one point.
Yeah.
And they were scared to, take that shot on somebody else, which maybe they should have been. Maybe sticking with Checo was just the right thing to do. I feel like that's a possibility. Well, Checo's still in the team, I guess.
Is he reserve?
He's I don't know if he's considered a reserve or if he's just. I think he's still like on contract somewhere, kind of.
Production team might have to check that.
Yeah, I might have to check.
Because I think Perez is actually fully out, as far as I'm concerned. I don't think he's still a reserve driver for Red Bull. I think he was fully out, because I also haven't seen him on like in the Red Bull garage at all. But like at the same time, he doesn't have to be there, so it could be that he's still the reserve driver for Red Bull. But I would be surprised. I would be actively surprised if that's still him.
No, I guess they. Yeah, no, never mind. I was wrong. Sorry, I was wrong.
Oh, good.
And Yuki Tsunoda is their current reserve driver.
Okay.
But yeah. It's very interesting though, to talk about and see where Red Bull can go from here, with possibly them on the hot seat regarding Max Verstappen, and on the hot seat with Liam Lawson and Yuki. And I think if Yuki gets the seat, he'll probably ride it out to the end of the year, so he'll have time to develop that with that car maybe. And then I don't know beyond that. Like I can't say that far ahead. If I was to take any long shot prediction, if Yuki gets the seat, goes into 2026 with the new regulations, maybe they let him go into the new regulations with him in the team, you know? I think that's possible if he was performing at least decent, you know? And maybe say, yeah, we know the car sucks right now, but let's maybe build this car around both of you, and then we can, you know, be ready for 2026. Outside of that, though, talking presently, McLaren looks very good right now. McLaren looks
flying,
unbelievably strong right now. We know Norris had some brake issues.
Yeah.
A ways through that race, and you know, but it would have been a 1-2 finish in Australia if it wasn't for the Piastri incident, and it was a 1-2 this week in China, and it might be again in Japan. I just don't know. McLaren looks quick. I don't think their gap is like unbeatable. I think some teams will take a couple races off of them.
100%.
And I think as the season goes on, their gap to the front or to the back of the pack will only, you know, get shorter in margin, and they will get caught up to, because I don't think they're like, again, we're talking 2022 Red Bull, you know, or sorry, 2023 Red Bull, I guess, actually, when Max won pretty much all the races that year.
Yeah, no, it's not at
there
that
was a
stage.
bigger gap.
No way.
Right?
No
We're not
way.
at that stage. So I don't think the season's like going to be like this snooze fest. I also don't think it's going to be a snooze fest because they have 2 number 1 drivers at McLaren. And do I think Norris is better right now? Yes.
100%.
Because he's more experienced, whatever the reason may be. Do I think he's better right now? Yes. Do I think if I was to say who would win the championship, him? Yes. Piastri's a bit more composed, though. I think Piastri's going to manage to steal some races where Norris has some faults, because Norris does have his tracks. He also has his start issues and his consistency problems sometimes, as we saw last year when the pressure was on. So I do think as long as McLaren keeps running away with the Constructors' Championship, they're going to be free to race.
Yeah.
And it's going to be very, very, very interesting to see where that goes, because
might be a proper rivalry
again, like
coming.
It could be, but I also think there's at least got to be some respect from the fact that we are allowed to race. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Because as long as the team stays out of it to a good degree. Like, so in Australia, the opening race, I've been seeing this everywhere. Everyone keeps making this argument because people like to jump on McLaren for things, because whoever's winning gets shit on all the time. I mean, so it happened to Red Bull, it happened to Mercedes, it goes on, right? So it's not like it's the biggest deal. But I will say, in Australia, briefly, Piastri was told to hold position. That was just so Norris and Piastri could get by the back markers first. Then they were free to race right after.
Yep.
So I keep seeing people say, "Oh, when Norris is behind, they're free to race, but when Piastri's ahead, or when Piastri's behind, you know, whatever." No. It was just to get by the back markers. After that, Piastri was free to go after him.
Yeah.
So they're free to race. They're free to race as long as McLaren pulls no bullshit like they did in 2024 Hungary, where they fucking flipped them around and they made them switch places again. They should be good. I think. I mean, it might get a little heated, but I think they have respect for each other. I think their relationship is fairly good, and I don't think Piastri's enough of a hothead to, like, you know, make a big deal out of anything. I think Norris has a bit more of that in him. Even if I like Norris, I think he has a bit more of that in him than Piastri does. So if anyone's gonna get mad, it's gonna be Norris. But I don't think Piastri will make it like a big conflict. But yeah, Norris and Piastri is going to be a very, very interesting battle to watch develop over the course of the year. And also just interested to see who's going to be number 2. It could be Ferrari, it could be Mercedes. Maybe if Yuki comes in and is just like stellar in the Red Bull, it could be Red Bull then.
No.
If Yuki performs in the Red Bull, if it's a big if Yuki performs in the Red Bull, they're number 2.
Yes.
Is that
yes.
no? You don't think he's going to perform, or
I don't think he's going to perform.
I'm not saying I think so, but if that was the situation, which I'm not going to say it's all shit, you know.
Yeah.
If that's the situation though, and he comes in and actually like does a good job, and is putting up decent points every weekend, Max being as good as he is, they'll get number 2.
The thing is,
otherwise it'll be Ferrari or Mercedes.
Yeah. The thing is with that Red Bull. Sorry. Max's massive talent. Don't laugh. What's that laugh at me? Max's massive talent behind all of this is the fact that he can drive the car very, very close to the wind tunnel setups. Obviously, the teams test their cars in the wind tunnel, and they get data back, and they get some sort of a way of how the car would be the quickest on track. But obviously, the car does not care about drivability. That's where Max's talent comes in, because he can drive very, very close to the ideal performance of the car, and he can very much outdrive the performance the car actually has, because he's so sensitive when it comes to drivability. That's where I'm saying that kind of performance I haven't seen from Yuki. At the same time, I don't think it was really a way that RB was ever going to be taking, because he showed a lot of confidence in the car as it is. So it's going to be a real test for Yuki. But
For sure.
as much as I like the guy, the odds are very much against him. And I said in the last podcast, I hope he doesn't take it. I feel like he doesn't have a choice really, because I mean it's a sister team.
Well, I think he already said he'll take it, so I just don't think that's.
He's gonna take it.
They're F1 drivers. They're the most confident people on the planet. He thinks he can go in and do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I do think is interesting though is there has to be some data to insinuate that maybe it's Lawson and not the car.
That would be insane.
Because I feel like they wouldn't be this. I'm here. I get both sides of this, but it's just something to present, because why would they be so quick to say get him out? You know what I mean? Like there has to be something they're looking at where they're like, this is on Lawson, you know? Otherwise, I feel like they might be more patient. And I'm not saying they let him sit all year, but by race 2, we're talking about throwing him out before the 3rd race of the season?
I think
there has to be something maybe we just don't know.
Yeah. There is a part where this is definitely on Lawson, 100%. And he could definitely be closer to Max than he is right now. And Paris wasn't performing as bad as Lawson was. Lawson hasn't gotten a single point in that Red Bull. It's just they also need to jump the gun, because the other teams are performing, and they're performing really, really well.
That is true, yes.
So they kind of have to get going. They don't really have the time to let Lawson develop into some confidence in 5 races without knowing if it's even going to work in 5 races. So they have to do something. And I mean, Australia and China were both racetracks which Lawson has never raced at before, and he does know Japan pretty well. So for them to wait out Japan might be a great idea, but at the same time, as an F1 driver, you can't really take that as an argument.
It's like you should be able to adapt to any circuit.
Yeah.
When you're an F1 driver, it's kind of this thing where it's like you had the practice sessions. Like that should be enough at that level. And maybe that's easy for me to say coming from my seat, right? Coming from a fan's perspective. But these are the 20 best drivers in the world. I would kind of expect you to be able to somewhat handle that.
Yeah, it's the standard they go by. They're the best of the best. Other than that,
and let's be honest, Kimi Antonelli came in and has not raced, an F1 car before. I mean, he's done obviously some of these circuits because of F2. He's done Australia because of F2, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think he's done China.
China though.
F2 doesn't go to China.
Yeah, but they go to Australia opening weekend, and he's done that, sure, but he never been in an F1 car before, and look at what he's doing. You know what I mean? It's Lawson has more experience than most people get at their first time in a full-time seat.
Actually, sorry, I think F2
I like
actually
Lawson.
does go
I
to
hope
China.
it works out well. Oh, do they? Did they do an F2 race this year?
I don't know. I know that the F1 Academy was at China, and they had 2 very, 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 very interesting incidents. I don't know if you've seen this.
I did not actually.
You did?
Okay, no, they did not go to China, by the way.
Okay.
F2 did not go to China.
Okay.
Sorry.
I just wanted to make sure, because if they did, and I would just look stupid. F1 Academy. Whoa. What did you say?
I said, as we normally do.
Oh. I thought you said, as we already know. It's like, damn. Where's that coming from? No, they had the opening race at China, and there was an incident on the main straight between Leah Block and another driver. I don't know the other driver's name. I only know Leah Block because obviously, you know.
I'm sorry, I'm not keeping up with F1 Academy that much.
No, I only saw the clip of the crash, but it was like I think it was like a warm-up lap or something, or maybe it was practice. But Leah Block was gonna pass, and as she was passing, the other drivers started weaving left and right, fully went into her, and she crashed into the side of the racetrack.
Damn.
Super weird incident.
Damn.
Super weird
I have
incident.
to go look up that clip after this for sure. Damn. Throw it up on screen? No, I'm just kidding. Damn, that's crazy.
Get into issues with F1
Did you gather
rights.
any fun facts for us today?
Oh shit! Oh my god, mate, you need to.
It's okay.
You need to, wait, I always send you so much stuff. Obviously, I always check the sources.
Yeah, but normally you just have like a.
I did.
Okay.
Nice one.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Williams got into trouble. I don't know if you saw this actually. In FP1. In FP1.
I wanted to bring that up in the preview. I forgot.
Yeah. I forgot as well. They did not. They weren't able to post their TV pod footage in FP1. Now we know it's because they forgot the SD card in the camera, and they had to pay a fine. Now, I don't think you have not seen this post. What do you think? How high was the fine?
I think I saw it, but I don't remember. It was like 50 million?
What the fuck?
No, sorry. 50,000. Like 50,000. Sorry. Whoa, misspoke. I misspoke. Sorry. My brain was not working. I was like, wait.
That seems reasonable. 50 million seems reasonable for a missed
50
SD
million,
card.
like half their fucking funds for the year. Like one of the biggest fines in the history of the
Yeah,
sport. I think
bro.
it was like 50,000 or something.
Yeah, it was 50,000. Nice one. Jesus, 50 million. God, thank God you're not studying finance. Fucking hell.
No, I'm not. Thank God.
That's.
I just was fully like, yeah, 50 million. That sounds right. No, I
Jesus.
knew, I thought it was 50,000. In my head, I'm looking at the zeros, and I was like 50,000, but I spoke million. Anyways.
I think. Yeah, I think I saw something. I swear I saw something, but I don't remember. I don't have it saved, so I'm afraid that's where the random F1 facts stop.
We got one fun fact for the day.
One fact for the day.
I'm done. If you're done, we're good.
I'm done. If
Head
you're,
out?
yep. I'm good.
All right, perfect. All right. Well, thank you guys all so much for listening to this episode of the Pit Lane Pals Formula One podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard today, follow us on Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, all the places. And thank you guys for listening. If you made it to the end, and goodbye.
Goodbye.